Join me as I dive into the complex world of Israeli politics and challenge myself to unpack how Netanyahu's powerful enemies are uniting against him. This is not just a story about politics, it's about power, alliances, and the future of a volatile region. Did you know that 75% of Arab nations recently condemned Israel's policies under Netanyahu's leadership? This figure underscores the seismic shift happening in the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. But what is driving this wave of opposition, and why is it happening now? For years, Israel has been a central player in the region, balancing alliances and countering adversaries. Under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the country has pursued aggressive policies aimed at securing its interests. However, these very policies are now triggering an unprecedented alignment of opposition, both domestically and internationally. In this detailed analysis, we will uncover the roots of this opposition, explore the motivations of Netanyahu's adversaries, and examine the broader implications for Israel and the Middle East. Benjamin Netanyahu, often referred to as King Bibi by his supporters, has dominated Israeli politics for decades. His tenure is marked by a strong stance on security, an uncompromising approach to Iran, and a controversial settlement expansion policy in the occupied territories. While these strategies have bolstered his support among right-wing Israelis, they have alienated many others, both within Israel and beyond its borders. One of the most contentious issues has been the expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Critics argue that these actions violate international law and undermine the prospects for a two-state solution with the Palestinians. Netanyahu's government has also enacted policies that critics describe as discriminatory, further fueling tensions with Arab Israeli citizens and neighboring states. Internationally, Netanyahu's close alignment with former U.S. President Donald Trump, particularly in recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, has drawn sharp criticism from Arab nations. This move, seen as undermining Palestinian claims to the city, has galvanized opposition and eroded Israel's relationships with key players in the region. The coalition forming against Netanyahu comprises a diverse array of actors, each with unique motivations but united by a common goal: opposing the Israeli Prime Minister's policies. 1. Arab nations' unified stance. Historically, Arab nations have struggled to present a united front due to internal conflicts and differing priorities. However, Netanyahu's policies have acted as a catalyst for unprecedented solidarity. The Arab League, representing 22 countries, has issued strong condemnations of Israeli actions in Gaza and the West Bank. Nations such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, which have often taken divergent paths on regional issues, are finding common ground in opposing Netanyahu's expansionist agenda. Saudi Arabia, for instance, has publicly criticized Israel's settlement policies and expressed solidarity with the Palestinian cause. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, while pursuing normalization talks with Israel, has made it clear that progress depends on addressing Palestinian grievances. Similarly, Qatar has amplified its support for Palestinian resistance movements, providing financial aid to Gaza and using its media platforms to highlight Israeli policies. 2. Iran's role as a regional adversary. Iran has long been a staunch opponent of Israel, and Netanyahu's hardline stance on Tehran has only deepened this animosity. The Israeli Prime Minister has repeatedly accused Iran of pursuing nuclear weapons and has lobbied international powers to maintain pressure on the regime. In response, Iran has sought to rally regional opposition to Israel, portraying itself as a defender of Palestinian rights and a counterbalance to Israeli aggression. Through its support for groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, Iran has positioned itself as a key player in the resistance against Israel. This support has further complicated Netanyahu's efforts to stabilize the region and maintain Israel's security. 3. Shifting alliances in the Middle East. One of the most striking developments in recent years has been the normalization of relations between Israel and several Arab nations under the Abraham Accords. While these agreements were hailed as historic breakthroughs, they have also created new dynamics. Countries like the UAE and Bahrain, which established formal ties with Israel, now find themselves balancing these relationships with growing domestic and regional criticism of Netanyahu's policies. Public opinion in many Arab nations remains deeply sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, and leaders are under pressure to address these concerns. This tension has led to a more vocal opposition to Israeli actions, even among nations that have sought closer ties with the country. 4. Domestic opposition within Israel. Netanyahu's challenges are not limited to external adversaries. Within Israel, he faces growing resistance from political opponents, civil society groups, and a significant portion of the population. Protests against his government have become a regular occurrence, with demonstrators calling for his resignation over corruption charges and dissatisfaction with his leadership. The Israeli opposition, led by figures like Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz, has accused Netanyahu of prioritizing his political survival over the country's long-term interests. This domestic discontent has weakened Netanyahu's position and emboldened his international critics. A pivotal moment in this unfolding narrative occurred when the Arab League issued a rare, unanimous statement condemning Israeli actions in Gaza and Jerusalem. This statement, coupled with widespread protests across the Arab world, signaled a turning point in the region's political dynamics. Adding to this pressure, European nations, including Germany and France, have joined the chorus of criticism, denouncing Israeli settlement expansions and urging renewed efforts for a two-state solution. The combination of Arab solidarity and international condemnation has placed Netanyahu in a precarious position, forcing him to defend his policies against a rapidly growing coalition of dissent. One striking example of this unification was the coordinated response to the recent escalation in Gaza. Arab nations, along with Turkey and Iran, condemned Israeli airstrikes and called for international intervention. This collective outcry highlighted the extent of opposition Netanyahu now faces, both regionally and globally. Benjamin Netanyahu's leadership has always been polarizing, but the current alignment of opposition against him is unprecedented. From the unification of Arab nations to the growing criticism from international powers and domestic challenges, Netanyahu is navigating one of the most complex periods of his political career. His policies, while appealing to his base, have triggered a wave of resistance that could reshape Israel's position in the Middle East. The implications of this opposition are profound. For Israel, it raises questions about its security, its relationships with neighboring countries, and the future of its democracy. For the region, it underscores the enduring significance of the Palestinian cause and the potential for shifting alliances. As the Middle East continues to evolve, the challenges facing Netanyahu will undoubtedly have far-reaching consequences. What do you think about this unfolding situation? Can Netanyahu overcome these challenges, or will this coalition of adversaries shape a new reality for Israel and the Middle East? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on the latest developments. Watch our next video, where we explore the broader implications of these shifting alliances in the Middle East. Together, let's uncover the truths shaping our world.